with the brownstone wall that's in the video, and thank you. Go on to the next. So in this space in Washington, we have a group called the Committee for the Republic. We have events once a month.
Louder, John.
I said we have events once a month, and this was our annual cocktail party in the Brownstone Garden in Washington. They're back here. Next slide. Okay, so the Neolithic mailbox. I have about 5 or 6 follies, stone follies, and this was one of the first ones I did. I had this serious Neolithic mailbox deficit that I didn't know hadn't been properly analyzed, and so as the video said, we were in going to Iona through Mull, and I saw this mailbox.
It's not any louder.
You can't hear?
We can't hear.
Oh, I said I was in on the way to Iona, driving through Mull, and saw a large mailbox. It wasn't 30 tons like this, but it gave me the idea, and I thought I'd have a little fun by making the mailbox a normal size. Sense of humor. Next slide. So we started with stone inside. I did redid the house, and we had this very large Rumford fireplace. It's 5.5 by 5 box, and created a negative space over here for the wood. Next slide. And then it's another shot. I also collect African pre-coin money, which I have a large collection of. That's another talk. Next slide. And this is a dolmen fireplace. Chris Bird, we found these stones at Chris's, and we had, I think we had 10 people wrestle these stones. I think that it's about 7,000 or 8,000 pounds of stone here. So we had to reinforce the floor to hold this fireplace, but Axel Verduc, the European art dealer, gave me the idea for these dolmen fireplaces. They're pretty cool.
Any dead people in there?
Not yet. It's one possibility where I might go. And then this was a wall where we had it's 300 square feet of stone on that wall, and we blew out the ceiling, and you know, I was going to have a Rumford fireplace, and I was going to do it here, and the workman said, you know what, why don't we take it over here? And so we did that. It was great. You know, it's so important when you're to be in the moment when things are happening, because you can see things that you would never see if you were just doing things from paper. Next slide. And as I said, I started out as a round stone chauvinist, and so it was all selection of stones, and I would go, and I remember coming through, you know, customs, and I had some stones in my suitcase, and there was an Ethiopian attendant there, and he said, "Oh my God!" He said, "You know, you really got to come to my country, and there's this river, and this is this place," and he really got into it, and so I bought a lot of the greenstones here are from the South Island in New Zealand, and we rented a container, and I got into it came into Baltimore, and someone had the temerity to ask me for a receipt. Next time. And this shows you how beautiful they are. This is a glacier stone, and this red one is from Colorado, and we have some from Maine, all over. Next one. That's another picture of them there. Okay. So this is I don't know if any of you got the ad from the guy flying over, and he said he would take a photograph, and so I got him to go up, and he photographed the stone circle, and we got this is a good shot of the sheepfolds. And I started the sheepfold. All this started, I had was away, and a Mexican guy was working for me, just started building a wall, and I picked it up, and then when it came out here, it kind of wanted to open up. I just listened to it, and it went to 5 feet to 6, and by the time it gets here, this is pretty high up. It's like 12 feet across, and it's technically we call a consumption wall. So what are the ideas behind the walls? One is to keep animals or people in or out, and the other is demarcation boundary lines. But another one is a consumption. You have so much stone, you just got to put it someplace. And I got this idea, and we were having a hike in England, in Wasdale, and it was the stoniest place I'd ever been that still had the pretense of agriculture. And the wall just, it had so much stone, they didn't have front end loaders to bury it, so they just let it go wide, and it was 10 feet high and 10 feet wide. It's just super cool. And there's one in Sepon, Tarny Garonne, not far from us, where we have a place in France, the same thing. So that gave me the idea, and then we ended up opening it up and creating some negative space in it, and we get some sheepfolds. Next.
Did you, the stones that filled the consumption wall, did they, as you were clearing
This all
the
came from the
land?
quarry. This all came from the quarry here.
Ah, okay.
And so I did this is the marathon wall, that showed, and then this is the consumption wall with the sheepfolds. And all the stone inside the house for all the projects came from the quarry, right here. Next. And so this is a nice aerial shot, shows you, as I said, I started off as a round stone showed us, and I got into flat stones out here. Just when I got out here, it didn't make sense to kind of continue to do what I was doing in Washington. And so this wall is about 4.5, 5 feet wide. It's a little more than regulation because it would have been out of balance with the consumption wall on the other side of it, so it was 12 feet wide. Next slide. And here you can see the conversation between the flat stones and the round stones. And this is a wonderful shot that Ruth had in the film of the wall. Follows the landscape. Next slide. And that's another aerial shot of it. Again, conversation between the round and the flat stones. Next slide. And this is a forest of walnuts, and it morphs into a poplar forest. And the poplars are, as you know, many of you know, are self-limbing, so they are very high, and the walnuts were low. So I ended up raising the canopy. So it's a really cool space, forest, and it's going to play a bigger role in the property now with the changes I'm going to tell you about. Next one. And this is another great aerial shot from an airplane. Again, the sheepfolds and the marathon wall, and you can just see that that's the pool, where the pool used to be, and here's the quarry.
Is the amphitheater on there?
The amphitheater is in the quarry.
In the quarry, okay.
We're gonna go through. Next slide. This is an aerial shot of looking down on the 12 stones I brought in from now on the Flores. And these were hand-rounded by Neolithic man 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. And in Indonesia, we don't know exactly what they were used for, but they were probably involved in some sort of sacrifice. But they didn't put them in circles in Indonesia. That's my Celtic background coming out here. Next slide.
John,
Yeah.
the surface texture there, the previous slide, the surface texture in the background, that doesn't look like snow. Is it snow?
Yeah, no, this is snow.
Okay.
This is snow. We got that, Craig McPherson came over and did some great shots in the snow. And so we thought, wow, maybe we should do try to do some more in snow. So you'll see we have snow shots throughout. And they have little caps on. Isn't that nice? They're wearing little snow caps.
North side.
Next line.
And what is the tallest stone wall?
And there'll be, one day I came out and there were birds of prey, I'm not sure exactly, and there were 12 of them, and they were on all the sides. Next slide. And this is a shot looking up at the house. So you get a sense of the, next slide. And that's, I think that's the one that you did, Bruce. That's a great shot. He hasn't started the video where the sun is just breaking. And the largest stone points southwest. And so America over the last 150 years has moved 3 to 5 miles southwest. This is the demographic center of the country. It's moved that way. And it's aimed towards the island of Flores, which where these stones came from. So,
Do they work as a sun clock or anything?
I haven't done that. I've left that to my son and my, I'm more focused on looking out. And the early man focused down first with the tombs and tumulus, which the sheepfold is a tumulus kind of feeling to it. And then they focused out and then they went up. And it takes a long time to do the alignments. But I have not, I've keyed it off the landscape board. Next slide. And this is the shot that Bruce had. It's the Craig, let's see, Craig, I think this is a stone here. I don't know if you can see it, but Craig was over, McPherson was over one day, and there was, this is a, this is a 9-ton stone, and it's the max that a front-end loader will pick up, unless you're just going to push it. And I had, it's about 20 feet here, and there's another beautiful 9-ton stone. It had a nice flat side on it, and I was going to use that face, and Craig said, well, that's a wonderful curve, and we had to take a turn, so we ended up putting that turn on the outside, and it was, Craig, you remember that, Craig? That was cool. It helps to have friends that have spatial intelligence. Next slide. Yeah, here's the, and you can't really see, but this thing really turns the corner. Put it right on the corner, and one project in the future may be to you set the charge. If you set the charge of the dynamite, they normally will set them every 3 feet apart, and it just blows the stone, makes them small, so it's easy to move. But if you set them 10 feet apart, you get these big guys. So it would be a cool thing to do a long wall with every 20 feet, have these big guys, big stones every 20 feet. That's a future project.
John, is this all dry lay?
Yeah, everything's dry stone.
Do you have places on the property where you could pull the big ones out like that?
Yeah, the quarry.
You still have that big?
Yeah, they came out of the quarry. Yeah. We're going to show you the dynamite in a minute. Next slide. That's a shot back at the house in the snow. Again, Greg had the idea of doing the snow shot. See that I like it because the snow is on the wall.
Yeah.
It's just cool. Yeah. Next slide. And this is a good shot of the sheepfolds, the snow. And so the sheep can come in and you can shear them or worm them. And someone said, well, where are your sheep? And I said, well, I've had several sheep deals fall through because I want to do things in stone. I want to, tend animals. So they said, well, why would you do that? Why would you build a sheepfold before you had the sheep? And I said, well, if you had a baby, you have the baby and then run out and get the basket. You gotta get the basket and you have the baby, So we're, I've gone little planning here. Next slide. And that's a great shot down on it. So I hang out with these guys around the world that are stonemasons, and they have conferences, and they're all into these capping stones, the stones that go across the top. But you're limited to what you have, and one of my innovations was I don't have any stones that will go across, because this wall is like 12 feet wide, and then it splays out here to 40 feet, and creates this expanse where I could put those sheepfolds in. And so what we did is we went out and we just broke everything up on the top. So on all my walls, we just, it's a lot of labor to break the stones up. You want to break granite rather than basalt. But it's a cool look. I like the look, and it's something that, you know, it's not in the stone books. So it's something that I came up with to solve the top problem.
Don't weeds try to grow in there?
Yeah. We have to go out and pick out weeds down there.
Oh.
Yeah, I could grow grass on the top, but I kind of like that.
Well, we aren't legal in Virginia yet, so you can't grow grass there.
Could be a DC import. Do you have problems with like cross heaves, or it looks like?
No, it's all solid stone. There's no dirt in this. It's utterly pure. And I was doing this. I had one Mexican guy, and he went back to Mexico about here. We're going this way, and I thought, well, let's see, maybe I can solve 4 problems at once. You know, if I create a sheepfold, a negative space, then that's less stone we have to haul. That's less stone I'm going to use too. And I can have an opportunity to build a face on the inside as well as on the outside. And fourth, I got a sheepfold. So we have the sheep. The sheep will come, and they can. The border collies can. You tell the border collies how to put the sheep, and they'll sort them out, and then they sit in the. I've got these little doorways for all the the border collie VC has to do is sit down, and sheep stay in. Okay,
Do you
next
like
one.
sheep?
Huh?
Do you like sheep?
I do. I like the ones that Peter Hall is into the does the border collies with the sheep, and he's into the dogs, not the sheep. And his sheep that look, you know, they're not the little fluffy kinds. And I like the ones that, you know, look that way. I don't like the ones that look like dogs. But the border collies don't really care what the sheep look like. You know, the sheep is the sheep. But for me, I like them. Next slide. Oh, and I, you can see, I basically let the stone, you know, dictate the line. I don't like the industrial look of lines and building on a line. I do everything from the feeling and just kind of the bigger the stone. These stones came from the quarry, so they're bigger. You'll see other shots. These stones are bigger than stones that you'll get out of the field.
Have you been doing this all your life?
No, just the last 10 years. Yeah. These stones were, I got very opportunistic. There's a black church in Flint Hill, and the minister is very effective. And so there's so many people out there, they overflowed the parking lot. And so they passed the plate and decided to expand their parking lot. So they're out there moving this parking lot, and there were these giant stones up there, and I was just couldn't believe it. So I went over and said, you know, the 15-ton stones, I said, I'd like to have some 7. Could you split these? And they said, you know, no one ever asked us to do that, but you know, we can do that. So I got some great. I like to bookend the walls with big stones, and this is a 10-tonner and a 7-tonner.
Did they call on a hired being to get that stone?
Lightning, it was a strike of lightning.
Yeah, we had giant machines on both sides, sumo wrestling, the 10-tonner in. It's as far underground as it is on the, it's really in there. And this is a better shot of the entrance. And it's just a very, it's a special one. The trees were already there, and so it looks like it's been there forever.
Yeah.
Next slide. And this shows you, this is a shot from the tree. You can see up in the tree, looking at the next slide. Those are the next slide. These are the sheep going in, and the border collies off camera right here. They're not doing that of their own. Next slide. And this is a friend's daughter, which is a good shot at looking out with the stone circle and the marathon wall in the background. Next slide.
That is a neat shot.
Now this is my stone buddy, Bill Coia, and he has a megalithic park up in Pennsylvania, and he has a foundation called Columbine. And I asked him to come down 5 years ago to have an event, and he's holding forth here. He's very strong on his general theory of man, and he's even stronger on his general theory of stone. And he can go on and on. So these stones were underground originally. They were buried, and when we moved the hill, they were there, and rather than break them off, so Bill called them portals, and they're a portal now between the amphitheater and the stone circle, which is going to take on more significance, you'll see shortly. And this is the amphitheater, what it looked like. Originally, this is after we uncovered it, but there were just two little specks in the hill that were, and we uncovered this. It was in the hill, and this is about 40 feet up here, and so this was 60 feet up here. And so we just ended up going in with a traco, and we took out 8,000 tons of stone between these three giant stones, which now make the amphitheater.
Where'd the dirt go?
The dirt went in different places. This dirt here, you're going to see where that is going to go shortly. That's what we're doing, just finishing now. Next slide. So here is a shot of the stone circle, the sheepfold, and then you can see the quarry after we've taken out the stone. So this is like a 1,000-ton stone, and this is a 900-ton stones. Next slide. And this is coming up just as we've taken about 5,000 tons out, and we needed to dynamite out the last 3,000. So this is what it looked like. And I don't have a lot of before pictures because I wasn't sure it was we were gonna have a quarry. So we just tried it, and I certainly didn't think we'd end up with these beautiful giant stones. Next slide. And that shows you the traco after we dynamited. See, these are 7-tonners. These are big guys. And next. Here I am, the guy with the charge. We got about 500 feet away because we had no idea what was going to happen. Yes. Oh my God. Next slide.
And you think a hay bale's gonna protect you?
So this is the big guy here, and see that this we took out, and we got that wonderful face, and this goes in 40 feet, and that's about 40 feet, comes out 40 feet. So it's a really nice, and here's the hill up here. So we started, let's begin the construction. This is 7 years ago.
So this was all just a discovery, you didn't even know this was there, huh?
No, I didn't know these stones were there, and I was worrying about competing with Neolithic man because I can't get my 100 best friends to give me all their time,
Yeah.
But Neolithic man wouldn't have thought about they had to move the stones, and you can uncover a much bigger stone than you can move. And that was my innovation. I back into it, but here you can see this 1,000-ton stone and these really giants here, and we're just starting to, we've gotten all the stone out now, we're starting to build. Next slide. And this is what it looked like. I had this basically, these beautiful stones, but I had this huge kind of 40-foot retaining wall problem. So what do you do if you have a 40-foot retaining wall problem?
You build it.
Yeah, you build an amphitheater. So the seating, let's go to the next slide. This is where we started, and I got up 1, 2, 3, on the 4th level, and we're getting up, coming up in the world.
Want to go back?
And again, Craig's idea of the snow gives a nice contrast. We're still only finished 4th level there. So next slide. And that's an aerial shot from an airplane.
You weren't using drones then?
No. Bruce made a special drone in the
Did he
video. Yeah, it has 5 blades, and the guy, it said pilot. You know, it didn't say
Yeah.
drone pilot. Trust me, I would put drone pilot in there for Tom. But yeah, the drone is got 5 little blades, and it's you don't want to get it within 30 feet of you. I'm happy when it doesn't get closer, but it'll go up. What? How far do we take it up? 1,000 feet.
Well, no, illegally only 400.
400 legally. And that's what the stairs look like. Those are those weeds that you were talking about. Dandelions.
Yes, they come.
You don't, got to pay attention. Next slide. And this is when we were getting up. Now we're up about 9 stairs, and we're just filling. You know, we're not putting any dirt. It's all stone. So we're breaking and fitting it and coming up, as I said. Next slide. And then we ended up with 11 levels of seating, 22 stairs, and this is the first level of the retaining wall. Now the stairs are a retaining wall in effect, right? But now we're going to literally do retaining walls, and we're up on the first level, and we started the second. You can see the stone is here that we can build against. Next. And this is a shot.
Holding up a stone.
Yeah. See how giant that is. Okay. Nice. And there's Ann up there, just walking by. And Ann, do you remember that day when you had the hat and we're up 2 levels, and you see we have all this competition up here, all the hill, because we didn't really know we didn't really know we had a quarry until we had a quarry, then we didn't know we had an amphitheater until we had an amphitheater, and now, but we still have a hill here, which is the problem that we just solved. Next. And so as we're coming up, we're breaking the stone and fitting them and using the face stones, and here I've put aside the face stones for the construction. Next slide. And that's a shot that Bruce took. And you can see now we're up to 3. We've got our 11 levels of seating, and we've got 3 levels here down to here. Haven't not yet figured out how to solve this problem, which we've been sitting there. But again, we have all this giant hill back there.
For a while.
And that's looking down into from the top. And this is where we had to play last summer. We're going to have to play. But the space has changed a lot. So I'll show you. Next slide. So that's now you can see I figured out how to do this curve and we came down and the dirt here is, this goes down another 10 feet. I just used the dirt as a scaffold. So that'll all come down. And we have all this hills here. Next, another shot of it. Different shot.
How recent is that, John?
That was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Next one. And there you can see we're now up to the 4th level and just coming across. And you wonder what all those buckets are. Those buckets are to keep the little face stones, so that I don't have to go. If you put them down here, you may lose them. And there's a really nice stone looking for a positive space looking for a negative space.
Do you,
Okay.
do you cut the flat ones? Do you take a big square or?
I shape things, but I don't.
And then you flatten it?
No, I don't. I mean, I
They
didn't.
come out
No.
like that?
Yeah, they'll come out like that. But you know, it'll always be something. It may have something you have to knock off and shape it. It's a.
What kind of
That's
stone is it in your?
It's
fork?
granite.
Right.
Yeah, if it were basalt, you know, I wouldn't have finished this
Right.
job in a lifetime. Next one. And that's a shot back where we haven't yet done that, and we're just coming down the line here. Next slide.
Do you just build as you find these rocks, or do you collect them?
No, they all
or-
came out of the, okay, good question. They took 8,000 tons of stone out of the quarry, and so some went into the consumption wall and the sheepfolds, and some went into the marathon wall and stonework in the house, and then we had this giant, we just had a machine going for 6 months, moving the stone out of the quarry into where we kept the stone away from it. So that's where we were feeding everything. The stone's coming back. It came from there, it went, and now it's coming back with a little more selectivity.
Do you have to worry about drainage and back pressure on the walls or anything? Or just-
Yeah, it's a good question, yeah. I had a real problem with that because we don't have those slides, but with all this hill up here, every time it would rain, it would get washed out. And so, yeah, I had to dig out some of these and I had to dig them out a couple feet to get all the dirt out. But now, the water runs away from it, not into it.
So you don't have underground black pipe or?
Oh, you'll get a lot of pipes, but not in here. I'll show you. Okay, so this, okay, so here's where we are. The hill disappeared. What we did is we had this playlist. Jim Reston's here. Jim. Jim did Galileo's trial, and we had that in the space. And we had 400 people, and I just wouldn't have had the level of confidence as to how until we got people in the space to see how to solve it. And so the seating. We get 200 chairs, but then it falls off, and you'd have to, Paul Riesler had the sound, so you could hear, but it was very difficult for people to see, so we decided to build a coliseum out of like wolf trap, and you sit on the grass. So it had two problems I wanted to solve. One is I wanted to get rid of the visual competition. Once we get now, all the pictures you've seen are up to here. I did this in the last year. And I brought this guy. I never had any, I've had labor feed me this stone, but I've done all the stonework myself. I had this Park Paul, a guy from the Aran Islands, and he's a very big man from a little country in a little island, very big stones. And he's a massive man, and they have giant stones there, limestone, and so his whole life they do vertical walls, because you have the limestone, you can do wedge walls, so all the pressure's from the side. Now, I can't do a wedge wall with the stones here, so we're using gravity coming up. Now, in Majorca, it's kind of in between. They'll have 5, 7, 9 sides, so you have as much pressure from the side as from the top. But, so the stone dictates what you can do, the style. But I got him here, and it was funny, and he was a big stone chauvinist. He'd always spent his life with big stones. So he looked at my walls and he said, there's no way. I don't have the patience to do this. So he told the operator, go get me bigger stones. So Stan Einstein, our operator, went and got bigger stones. And I would never have thought of doing that. So it was revolutionary because it made, I've been at this 7 years and I've done as much in a year now as I did in 6. And because if you put one stone in and it's in place of 30, you're more than 30 times faster, right? So big stone shows now. And we got this hill, you know, with all the pictures before, you were looking up and you had all that visual competition. Now that's gone. And that's now going over for the seating. Next slide.
John, where's the lake? I'm confused.
The lake is down below.
No,
Yeah.
not in this shot, but in the last one.
In the last one, okay.
Where's
The lake's down here. We had some shots of that.
So
You'll
you're
see.
from the house looking.
We're looking down from the house now.
Okay.
You could not see the amphitheater from the house
Right.
because of all the hills.
And you have a retaining wall.
Hmm?
And you have a big retaining wall up there now.
This is this is all the top. Yeah. Yeah, there are 4 levels. It runs over at 3 levels. Okay. Now this is what the pool looked like. But see, the problem is the pool, the amphitheater is down here. And if you want to look at the amphitheater, you can't look at it through the pool. So that was a problem. And all this hill is everything is overreaching the amphitheater. So we had to solve that. Next. So that was the pool. That was the pool a couple weeks ago. And really well-made pool. But now you can see the stone, right? And we have our skid loader. This is a dump truck. This is a front end loader and a bulldozer.
Did you save the pool?
No, the pool was way up. If I do a pool, I'll do it in a different location or
And
where
what's
it's
you
not
with the
in
big
way.
stones with
You just break up the walls and then what? Leave them there?
What?
The walls
Oh
of
no,
the
that's,
pool.
you'll be sitting on this
Huh?
in the seating.
Oh.
An amphitheater. Yeah, everything is going down. Everything's going down into the seating.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so
It's a basic question, what effect does the dirt have in the interiors of the walls? You said a bunch of times there's no dirt, and that's why there's no frost heaves?
no frost. You mean heat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the dirt holds the water and makes it heat?
No.
Okay,
Where?
never mind,
No,
forget it, keep going.
No, the walls
I'll
don't.
ask
The
later.
walls don't heat.
Sorry
It's
about
all
that.
dry stuff. Okay, next slide. Okay, and here you can see the pool is now got.
It's gone.
It's on the way. Yeah.
But you still have that pump room, right, with the tomb?
Yeah, that's over here. That's well over here. Yeah.
Okay.
Up from the Neolithic tomb. Still in action. I still can go there. Still a place to be buried. Okay, next. And you see we're breaking up the stone here. So it's just massive, and I actually went really quickly down the line and built this, and then it takes a long time to get the top part, and So finding the right level, so I came back and now we're breaking that
How
stone.
wide is that, John?
It's just faster.
How
Then-
wide?
This is, this is about 10 feet here,
Okay.
and it splays out to about 40 feet across here. It's like the sheepwalls.
Yeah.
It's a massive. And you can see we've got the 3 levels here. And there's the, May, there's the pond.
Beautiful composition.
Yeah, I created that pond. It was a little, it was only about this big, and we dug it out, and we had a spring, and I have 2 springs over here. That's another problem. Let's go. So there is the, okay, now we have, still the hill is in the way here. Because we want the, when it rains, we want the rain to go down, and we want to walk, we want to go up to the amphitheater, you know? We don't want to be, I don't want anybody looking at it straight on. I want everybody's going to have a looking up view. So all this is coming out, going into the seating, and so the forest is going to, with the stone circle over here, is going to be, this is going to be more of a midway place. Now, it's going to be more connected. The whole, it pulls the property together in a way that wasn't before. Next slide. And that's a shot of the 3 levels. You can see this is very finished. And you can see we went down and we're going to come back and we're going to get all this trued up and finished, and we're raising these levels here.
John, are you gonna have a concert this year, with people sitting up on the amphitheater? Will you do that for a concert?
Sitting on it? No. These are retaining walls. They're not to be sat on.
Okay.
Even though in the play last summer, I thought one of the most dramatic scenes was when Cardinal Bellarmine was shouting at Bruno, the ghost of Bruno. And it was Richard Biggery and Bruce Fine was over here, and you're at a different level up on the giant stones. So you have acting space down below, and now with this new, with this coming down, when we had the play last year, none of this existed. So it went from an open system to a closed system. And there's a lot, it's going to make the acting space up on these big guys something you wouldn't have in most theaters. Next slide. It's true. And you can see there's the, the giant stone there, and that's the one of the machines in the background.
John, have you thought of putting in some lighting so you can see it like after twilight?
Yeah, that's one of the things we need to think about. We got the cord, we bought the cord last year to light it, to run down the cable.
Yeah.
But it's a problem, and Greg identified that, as you were out building the Grand Inquisitor's stand and noticing the sun. Now that we've taken the hill out, the sun's still going to be in your eyes because it sets over the thing. So if you do it in June, first week in June, you have to wait until just before the sun sets to do the play, or we got to do it earlier in the day when the sun is more overhead.
I get a question. The bigger stones that you're using now, since the guy from Aaron,
Right.
how much do those weigh?
Well, they're substantially bigger. So they're 50. I had to. I have a lot more help now with people. I used to lift everything myself, and now if I do that, I feel it. I can't stand up. So they're heavy enough to really. You really need to have. You can't basically do the stonework and
Can't
lift
you
them
see the
all. But
different
they're
size?
50. Some of them are 100 pounds. Some of them are 150.
So you need a couple of guys to lift these.
Yeah, you gotta have 2 people. Yeah, and it's a real.
John, can't you see the different size stones in that picture on the left and right?
Yeah. Yeah, we've always had some big guys in there, but the average stone is bigger over here
Yeah.
than it is here. You can see that.
When
You
you
might
became
not
a stone
notice that,
shovel.
but
Yeah,
now that
big
I-
stone, big stone.
Is he still working for you?
No, he just came for a month. And he's a wonderful singer. Oh my God, I just love Irish music. He really channels the sense of loss of the Irish. I said, aren't you grateful to the English for really screwing you? Otherwise your music wouldn't be so good. But anyway, he really, he has the next slide. This is, okay, now you can see these are what are called the haul roads. And that's what we had to put in to get the dirt from up here to down here. So, this is 4 levels here and 3 over here. And this hill is still here, you see? It's coming out. That is coming out. Next one. And this is what it looks like before you break it up and make it really granular like that. There's a lot of labor from here to that.
Who does that? Does Ann do that, or do?
I can't even get Andy. He can come out and look at this stuff. That's why I put that picture in where she was. I don't know how we got that picture.
Ann's worried about the house being next.
Now the house, we did the house first. When we bought the
You're not
house,
moving it.
Moving it.
I think Mary Sherman's here, right? Mary Sherman?
Yes.
Yeah, and Mary Sherman came over and she said, you know, you really ought to tear this house down. And I said exactly what I did, you know. I basically blew out 7 rooms and created petitions and we blew all the walls out on the outside. We had views, it's silly to have a painting on the wall. So I did that. So the house was the first thing that we did. Okay, next. And this is a giant stone. This guy's about a 30 ton, 20 tons is a giant stone that we put in that bookends the bottom. And then this is about a 5-ton stone, and this is like a 8 or 9-ton stone.
How do you estimate the tonnage of those?
It's just a guess. I don't think anybody's going to second guess me.
Did you move that into position?
Yeah, we did. You need a lot of, it's a sumo wrestling match with 2 giant machines, you know, kind of wrestling. So in place.
Fabulous design.
How deep do you set them in the ground?
This guy is down about 6 or 7. He's up about 8 feet. This is 8 feet above and about 5 feet below.
So you dig the pit before you?
Oh yes. You don't
Or
show
you,
up.
I mean, maybe part of the hillside, but you burn it up.
No, you have to dig it and then put it, wrestle it in, and then set it. And so this is after it's all filled in. Yeah, it didn't look like that. I should have it. I don't think I have it. I think we do have a picture, Chris, don't we, of what it was when we set this down? I think we have that. Okay, next slide. And this is a shot back up the house when we took the hill out here, and we haven't, this hill hasn't come out yet. It has, but in this picture, it's still there. And
Sorry.
and this is what. Here, next slide. This is the. These are the haul roads, and this is the early shot of the dirt coming down from above, and it's we're going up at 3 to 1, 18 degrees. So for every 3 feet back, you're coming up to 1. It's not really 3 to 1. It's 3 to 1's misleading because it's really 6 to 1 because you got to come down if you go up, right? So you just can't go up 20 feet. To go up 20 feet, you got to go back 60 feet, and that's so that you don't have to weed whack it. You can mow it at 3 to 1, but you got to come down 3 to 1. So that's 6. It's really 6 to 1. It's a lot of dirt. this will hold, this bucket holds a lot. But the dump trucks are much more efficient to keep the loader up above, and the dump trucks are next. And that's and so now, you know, it's out here and it's shaped in a bowl, and it's like an ovoid. So we have about 40 by 40 this negative space between the three big guys, and now we have an equal space outside, and this is kind of a elliptical, like a football. So you can be sitting over here on the grass looking at the play across at the audience on the other side.
John, you're essentially land sculpting.
Well, we're I think, you know, you can always improve things. But I don't like to be species narcissistic. I don't like it to feel like the hand of, in these construction sites, it definitely in the machinery, it has the hand of man all over it. But when you see it, you know, like once it's done, you don't, hopefully that feeling is no longer present.
You really have problems with drainage now, don't you?
No, there are big pipes taking the drainage down here, and then there are pipes here taking the drainage out. But there's not a lot of water. Before, all the hill was feeding water into the structure, and now it's going away from the structure.
Okay.
But we did have a lot of snow last week, and the pipes worked great. You know, we got a lot of melt and right out.
You doing anything to protect the trees?
Yeah, these trees are we don't need to do anything other than not hit them. Just protect them by.
Bury them.
No, they're not buried. No, they're actually. This will all come. This comes down and moves over here, and this, so that when you look up at it now, it's nothing. All these roadways have gone. Say you're in a bowl.
Yes,
Like,
those are
if you go to
hallways.
London and you're in the theater and you sit around, that's the feeling.
But the trees are still there?
Yeah, the trees are exactly where they were before, and the trees are beyond where the seating is.
And you're gonna remove the dirt from around the base of the trees, basically.
Yeah,
Most of
this dirt in here is coming down out, and there's a little dirt there, but this is normal. This is where they grow. They're not covered up here. This one's a little covered temporarily. Next. Yeah, I got really lucky on those trees because those are fabulous trees. These are really fabulous trees, and they, you know, for this thing to be, it's like the sheepfold. So, you know, I had these trees already there that looks like, you know, they've grown up around this. And this is the Neolithic tomb that was referenced here. Okay, next. And that's the early days. Looks a little precarious, doesn't it? But now they got really wide as they got more. And that's it. I think that, is that it?
Well, I've gotten rock envy from this,
Okay.
John.
All right, so why do all this? Well, we have, I suffer enormously from a spectacle deficit, and Ann has negotiated me down to one spectacle a year. And, that doesn't mean at our place. I mean, we can go visit other spectacles. We're leaving on Sunday to go to Spain to a spectacle. But we had it was 5 years ago. It was Julia, Julia, you here?
I'm here.
Julia. And you can verify that I'm telling the truth on this story, because no one will believe it. You and Douglas came to me and said you wanted to have a Halloween party, because Gus Borbush was, every time when I put the stone circle up, the hunt came out of the woods and said, oh my God, we had too much to drink. So every time they would ride by, come out of the woods and ride by the circle, Gus would say to Julia and Douglas, well, haha, you know, that's where they used to sacrifice virgins, but there are no more virgins.
True.
True? Isn't that true? You couldn't make that up, right?
Peggy found some virgins though.
And then you said, could we sacrifice a virgin? And I said, well, this wasn't my this wasn't an area of expertise. But I said, sure, let's do it. But my mistake was I agreed to go on the Virgin Search Committee. Things got very quickly out of hand, and we went to Peggy Shatler and said, would you do a play? And Peggy came up with this play. And so she does her plays in the stone circle, and we have the bonfire, and a serious fire. So to have a great spectacle, it's my belief, all of these things add to it, but if you have all of them, it just goes to a different level. So you need fire, I think theater, plays. We do it at Halloween, so we have costumes, so everybody's part of the thing, not just a participant as well as observer. And stone, right? So people don't think about it, but all that stone's out there, and we're not, inviting people over to come over and look at the stone. We're coming over and having a spectacle. But the stone's there, and it's part of the spectacle. And then music. And last year we had the Alexandra pipe and drum. We had 18 bagpipes and 8 drums, which is, we set up a Celtic force field. And if your Celtic DNA wasn't firing on all cylinders, you know what that meant? You don't have it. Exactly. So, I was just in heaven. So, next slide. So we did these spectacles, and here's the Alexander pipe and drum. The drum major here. We decided, didn't we, Ray, that next year we won't put the porta potty here. I said, Ray, can we ink out the porta potty? Can we airbrush out?
Little Photoshop.
I got rid of my neighbors in that first thing. I didn't have a neighbor. Photoshop, but it wasn't worth it. But anyway, next year, the porta potties they're over the hill there, and they're here, but we'll have it out of shot.
Could you build a stone enclosure?
Stone out, that's a
15 times.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Maybe we should do some.
Yeah, right.
That's a great idea. You heard it here.
John's John.
So here's people suiting up and getting in the spirit of things. Next slide. Looking back. Now, Anne, after the thing, people would come to the house, and Anne, as the spectacle grew every year, we got to the point where Anne felt it was unreasonable to have 600 people in the house. So last year we put a tent right here. So we moved it out of the house for the food and so forth. And there's Caesar right here. That's my Caesar right. And this is the pipe and drum here. This guy's really tall. It's a great picture. Look how tall he is. Next slide. And there is Chris Bird. We had an innovation because I had a lot of things that will burn, but what really burns well is cuttings from a sawmill. And Chris brings over these cuttings, and so we put those on top, and it really, puff goes the dragon. It really takes off.
Where did the Virgin go?
The Virgin. Yeah, she came back. She went to UVA and came back with her mother 3 years ago. We had a little consultation, didn't we? She was lovely, yeah.
Is she still a virgin?
And we've had weddings, was it Julia that got married?
Deb Dodge's daughter Lowell got married on her horse there.
And she had a white horse, and $2,000 worth of flowers came in from Ecuador, and it was the lady
Sally
spent,
Cunningham.
she
Yeah.
spent days, putting and so she barebacks jumps up on this white horse and gallops out and does, they do the deed right here and get married in the stone circle. And we got another one this summer, another wedding this summer. He said he didn't want to, I said we can't do the creator, but we can do creation. Next. And this, we put this slide in because this is Jen and her Dolly Parton hairdo. Quite a hit, honey, the Dolly Parton. And there's Jim Reston right here. Jim, this is, I asked, Jim, was this the year I asked you to pick up the fried chicken? Jim put me on to the IGA fried chicken. Has anyone here not had IGA fried chicken? Jim said, it's best chicken, so I started doing that. And one year I said, Jim, can you pick up the chicken for us? Because he was coming in that way, and because it's 20 minutes down and back. And he had this Arab outfit, and he goes into the IGA, and there's actually some real Arabs there. And Jim was so embarrassed, he didn't want to get out of the car. But we had to have the chicken, so he sent his wife in, and we got the chicken. Anyway, next one. And this is the sheep balls. I think this is your son, right? Isn't that
John.
Your son?
John, your son.
My son.
Yeah. Because you all came in the black outfits that year, right?
Scream team.
Huh?
The scream team.
The Scream Team. It's a hard act to follow. So anyway, the sheep are getting exposed to the Scream Team. Next. And it's a wonderful, it's all broken up and small on this side, so people like to walk. Kids do, particularly, but adults stand on the sheep balls. And then next slide. And so so we have the spectacle. It's always the last Saturday before Halloween, and invite everyone to come. And we have a ball, and we're every year we do a few new things, and we've got some surprises. But
So
we
when
had
you do this, does everybody bring something to share with you?
some people bring food, but we have I think we had 600 pieces of fried chicken there. But it went like that. It was whoosh chicken. Just whoosh. It's gone. But my son, he sold his tea vine, his drink. And I think he sold a lot of it. So you could have anything to drink as long as it's tea vine. The Galileo's Torch was the trial of Galileo that we did first week in June. And Craig McPherson, this is his stand that he built for, how long did it take you to do that? Too long. Yeah, more materials and more labor than, but anyway, it was fabulous because David Tatel was Grand Inquisitor, and Edie, his wife, was playing the scribe, and he was here. And it was a very dominant thing. But here's the where we got the confidence to build the seating up, because you see we have people sitting here, and then it goes down, and then it goes up. And they can hear, but it was hard to see if you were on the downslope. And so we solved that problem. Next, here, this is the seating here. Then it falls away after that. And there's the Grand Inquisitor, the scribe, right there. Did a fabulous job. he's now going to be hailed in such a good job. He's been recruited to be in Jim has a new an old play that he did 30 years ago on Sherman, and Sherman believed in a hard war and a soft peace, and Stanton, the Secretary, Lincoln's Secretary of War, believed in a soft war and a hard peace. And so it's two Yankees basically fighting in this play about what to do with us. And so it's an interesting play, and you'll learn a lot. But so Jim has recruited David to be Stanton, which is the guy that is, again, doing the trial. He did the trial. The Grand Inquisitor was the one who took Galileo through the ropes, and now Stanton's going to take Sherman through the paces. And this is Galileo here. John Jackman. You may know. Okay. And there's Andrew. Andrew Coburn was a find. We didn't realize that Andrew had histrionic lesbian death capacity, and he is now has a role in the new play. And here's Ken Shoemaker, who's the Doge. Ken's going to be in the new play. Yeah. Galileo was over for dinner, and he was saying, you know, he wanted to role in the new play, and he said, well, you've got this English accent, you know, and how are we going to put a guy with an English accent into an American Civil War play? Next, and here's Casey. Casey, you see yourself? Casey's the authority figure, the bouncer here, and tried to keep us so we knew where we were in time. And here's my friend Boyden Gray, who was Urban VIII, and then Bill Marmon. Bill's here. Bill. Then when Boyden got a heart operation, Bill played it when the play went to Washington in the Italian embassy, or two times this fall. And then Jim just got back from Italy, and he has the actors, and he has the perfect space, everything. The only thing he needs is the money to do it in Italian in Italy. So if anybody wants to finance Galileo's trial in Italy, Jim is right here. And here is Bruno's ghost, and the county's, there's Jim and Cardinal Bellarmine and Richard Viggory. And Jim was very effective using this perch here, using the elevation to basically create a different, when we went into Washington and we're in the embassy, it's, there's nothing to look at other than the actors and hang on every word, and there's no multiple, this is a very forgiving space for people who are still aspiring actors. Costumes. And this may tell me, is this my, that is my Inquisition outfit that Viggory has, and May did a fabulous job. We had, what did we do? We had, how many different outfits do we have?
You had, 20 characters?
20.
And you probably had 12 costumes in your closet.
Yeah, we went to the Shakespeare Theater, and you never want to give a nickel to Shakespeare Theater after you learned that every 3 years they sell their wardrobes out at 5 cents on the dollar. So we went, and I just happened to go, and we filled the car. And we, the play, those costumes were perfect for this play. Okay. And there's, I don't like to, I'm not lifting, that's a pretty big stone. That's probably about 25 pounds. Yeah, I think that's it.
Do you have an on-site chiropractor?
Yeah. That's it, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
We turn the lights on.
John, we have run to the end of our time, but
Okay.
unless there's just a couple of questions though you want to
Sure.
entertain.
Well, John, when you bought this property, did you know what kind of a gold mine you had in terms of stone?
Well, we looked for 3 years, and I went back and forth, and we were up on we looked at properties up on hills, and then we looked at properties looking up, and then we were up on one. It was a beautiful view looking down, and Ann said, you know, I don't want to be on a hill. I want to look at a hill. I don't want to be on one. I said, well, honey, why didn't you? We could have saved a lot of time, you know. That was 3 years have gone by. But we looked for a property that had a lot of action in the landscape. I came out to Rappahannock because of the action in the landscape. There's a lot of asymmetric action. So all I've done is the property had 50-foot differences in the, and so what I did is just exaggerate, just played with what was there. I didn't. We've taken hills, we give it, and we take it, but
Did
we
you
have a lot to start
did
with.
you know you had a quarry?
Yeah, when I got here a few years ahead of you, I was with the lunch bunch, and Bert Hirsch was an old aficionado there. He was a very conservative gentleman, mild sense of humor, and he passed on, and you acquired his property. That was his house you tore down a couple of times. And I often wondered what Bert Hirsch would say if he could come back and see.
His son came back, and he was,
Oh, he did?
yeah, he was pretty shocked. Pretty shocked.
You had any training in geology, or have you been interested enough to look further back in time to see how all of this was created in the first place?
No, I just, I mean, I've been to a lot of early man stuff, been all over Europe. I've looked at, you know, 1,000 cumulus, you know, I've seen a lot of stuff, and so I don't ever, if anything's good, I don't forget it. I don't need to take a picture of it. I'll remember it. So I've looked at a lot of stuff, but I think it's the best training. The people that will, I'm dealing with the stone on the property, other than the circle, that's the exception, and the round stone. But everything else comes from the property, so everything is dictated by what we have there. And so that is, you know, we've done a number of innovations to deal with, you know, the realities we found it. But no, formal training, it sounds horrible.
Besides Celtic, do you have any Anasazi blood in you?
I had an ancestor that was, after the Civil War, he was on the, grew up in Clark County, and after he went to UVA, and he was a lawyer, and he got to be 40 years old, and he had a midlife crisis, and he went out with the Indian Affairs Bureau, it was just starting, and negotiated with all these Indians, Chief Joseph, and we have this major Indian art collection that we gave to UVA. But I think being a Southerner, and he had a sense of loss, and he identified with the American Indians. But no, we don't have any, not that I know of, or that I'm claiming.
Do you have the video on CD?
Yeah, it's up on Vimeo,
It's
right?
on Vimeo.
So we can send it, and we can put it up, we give you the URL, and you go look at it.
I have another suggestion, because what I wanted to say in a minute. We're not having a second Friday at the library talk in April. Instead, we're having RAAC's first annual film festival that weekend. It's going to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And John's film, John's Follies, was accepted into the festival. So come to the festival that weekend, and you can see it again.
Bring your friend, bring your friend.
It's on Saturday, Saturday 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock?
Is it? On Saturday the 12th, or the 11th?
11, Saturday.
Yeah, we're coming back. Yeah.
John, this has to be at least 8 years ago. You'd completed the long wall, and you were working on the sheepfold, and I was sleeping over. I'm an old friend of Ann's, and I came out at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and John's out on the tractor, and I said, wanting to be helped, I said, what can I do to help? This was back in the early days. Stones everywhere. He said, he handed me a bucket and he said, just pick up all the white stones. What was that all about? Was that just making a house guest be useful?
No, that was the quartz. We have basalt, a little basalt, mostly granite, and some quartz. And I don't like the quartz because if you put it in a wall, your eye goes to the color. And I don't want the color to compete with the form. So it's hardening. It's in the, we put it inside the wall.
Real.
So that's why I
WPA
gave you,
job.
that was a very, and now that you mentioned that, I only have one other friend. In all these years, I've only had one friend whose wife wanted to come out and work on the wall for the weekend. And he was very nervous about this. So it was very, it only happened once, but she, I gave her the same job.
Lucky her.
That'll be our last question. Thank you.